I got involved because Tracy came along to the town council to tell us about this wonderful idea she had, or the JRF had, for researching loneliness in communities. And I just thought, oh, that sounds hard. That sounds very difficult. It sounds very interesting.
I actually was doing a course myself through the family learning, and Tracy alongside Roger came in and they were doing an activity about neighbourhood approaches to loneliness and why people get lonely, and we did a plan called a lifeline, and you actually at the end of it you basically sit back and look at your life and realise that there's a lot of times in your life you're lonely. There was about 30 odd of us in that room, and out of 30 odd of us, nearly every one of us had experienced loneliness at some point in our life.
Something struck a chord with me when I retired and had a chance to think about people and things more, and that I needed to do something to help them.
You just assume that the lonely people are going to be the elderly people, and that's not the whole story.
No, it isn't the whole story. We all learned a lot, didn't we, doing the research, that it wasn't just elderly people that were lonely. There's a lot of elderly people that aren't lonely.
I thought it was the stereotypical type of an old lady sat in the house on their own, but it's not just an old lady, it's children, it could be children, it could be adults, it could be teenagers even, it could be anybody.
Well, what struck me when we got the feedback was I didn't realise that young people could be lonely.
In the past I wouldn't have regarded my neighbours being lonely, and since I've been on this project I feel as though there are people out there that need support and help, and they are lonely, and if I could do anything in my way to help them, then I would like to do that.
I think it makes you realise that everybody really has experienced loneliness at some point in their lives.
It's given us as volunteers, I think, a purpose, an outlet, something to work to, something to focus on, something to achieve.
Coming from outside, not knowing anybody to start with, that's been great for me, to actually come on the project and meet a lot of new people and know that we are going to help a lot of other people.
It's given me a bit more confidence. I mean, I've now got a job after having my daughter, and I enjoy that, and I don't know, I just seem to have a bit more confidence, and I want to follow it through to the end, and I want, to make that difference.
I've got a full-time job now and I love it to actually go, so I'm off benefits now, so it's giving me the confidence to actually go off and get benefits and go into employment.
Although I live alone, I wasn't lonely, but with meeting the group, I opened out and I had more friends than I'd ever had in the village.
Well, it's actually empowered me a little bit more. I mean, I don't want to interfere in people's lives or be nosy, but I mean, I'm offering to help anybody who's in need, and I think that's what this project is about, how we can all help each other as a community, and I'd be more interested in doing that now.
I've kind of come to the conclusion now that through doing this work I've realised I like to help people, and it's kind of a gain from it, a self-gain from it. I feel much better inside for helping others and trying to make a difference and wanting actions and wanting to take things further. I was just going back to work after 6 years, which is really difficult, and lack of interviews, stuff like that, not nervous wreck actually, to be honest, because I've never had an interview in 6 years or something, or longer than 6 years. But Tracy just more prepared me for the interview and very supportive. Everybody around to do with the Joseph Roundtrees were all supportive and saying, oh, go for it, you can do it, and very encouragement and, making you believe in yourself even more.
It's changed my life completely, really, because I was very lonely, and I try to do things now not to make myself lonely, not to feel lonely, I've learnt from ideas and suggestions, so I might be sat there going through things and in my own little mind I'm going, I could try that. And I do, and I don't have to tell people I've tried it, but it works. Them suggestions work, and they can work for everybody.
A much stronger sense of belonging now than maybe a year, 18 months ago. And this project's been a part of it.
we could feel a little bit on our own, you know, we're doing all this on our own, whereas in reality we're not. And I think these other organisations, like Seniors Show the Way, like Not Over the Hill Yet, Nothy, and plus the sort of voluntary and council groups, I think that's going to be really key to making things happen in the end.
I'm particularly keen to restart somehow, in some way, shape or form, the cinema and films being shown here in the village.
Seniors Show the Way came to one of the partnership days, and they trained some people, walk leaders, volunteers, some people who were involved in the JRF project, and they go every Thursday walking, and they're hoping over time to get more people in Denholm involved and doing maybe shorter walks. People who have mobility problems or have just come out of hospital. So that's something that's completely new that didn't happen in the village before.
Creating an information hub, a point where people can fix on to get information or to get assistance and even just chat to somebody when they need to. Giving people that access point that's very prominent but without any pressure.
If we can use the folk hall to its full potential as the hub in the village.
Getting somewhere where we can have as like a venue. I think that's what everybody says in this estate, but we need a focus point where we can have like pop-up shops and pop-up cafes and stuff like that.
And I know a lot of people that can't cook, but I know there's a lot of older generation of people sat at home that can cook very well, good basic food. So using their knowledge and skill to somehow teach the younger generation to cook in a setting where everybody feels safe and secure. And I think that would then break down a lot more barriers just beyond not being able to cook.
I'm very keen and enthused by the fact that they want to develop the surgery to be a multifunction surgery, not just a medical surgery, if you like.
One of the bases that you need is a little bit of self-confidence and, you know, try to raise your self-esteem if that has stopped you going out and meeting people. I'm really keen that we get a project up, a course going to do confidence building.
And now we're at the part where you can see that you've got this list of actions that you can get into place, you can go forward, and you feel empowered almost now because you've almost like got to an end of a big stage. You've jumped to leap all of a sudden. You're like, wow, it's like putting things into place. We're arranging a pop-up cafe with a mobile library and stuff, and that sounds really good fun. And it's not just good fun, but it sounds like it's going to really help the community. I suppose that's one of the first things that's going to be up and running. And once you see that, you see all this work you've done. It actually means something more. You know, it means even more than you expected it to mean. And that'll be good because then it'll make you even more geared up for the rest of the actions and stuff and getting them into place.
My hope is to be involved in it and to be able to look back on it and say we did actually make a difference, we did actually change as a result of the research and the follow-on from the research.
I'd like to actually think that I'm being useful at the moment, but I'd like to be more useful in maybe other areas outside my own area.
For me, probably the biggest thing is that it's going to be volunteer-led and it's going to be continuous and other people are going to get involved in it.
It would be great if this project does show the project for all the 4 areas, how to stop loneliness, how to get the community more involved, and then introduce this to other communities which really, really, really need it.
I hope that it really goes far and it helps people that are lonely and it gets people talking about it more, and more people can come forward and not be ashamed of saying I'm lonely.
I would like the right people, the right organisations, the right agencies to take on board what we're doing.
I hope it's like I've planted a seed that will maybe grow into a big tree that sustains for the future to come.
I'd like to see the project really take off now, because I think it's at the point, because there's actions. Like before you couldn't see it take off because you was doing the research, you needed to know the background information more, but now it's at a point where you can see it take off. And once you start seeing it take off, I think it's going to have such a positive, like a ripple effect. It's going to have a positive influence on everybody in the community, and more people talk about it and hear about it. More people will get involved, so there'll be more people keeping it sustainable.